Welcome to the Home Business Podcast with Richard Captain Henderson, publisher of Home Business Magazine, and Sherilyn Colleen, managing editor. This how-to show helps you successfully operate your home-based business.
Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Henderson, your skipper at Home Business TV.
And I'm Sherilyn Colleen, your co-host.
You ever feel like you are barely balancing romance and business? Or maybe you are in business with your partner and would like to take both to the next level.
In this podcast, we interview empowered couple Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman, who cover the nuances of being in business as a couple, the challenges that most couples don't anticipate when starting a business, and some practical strategies to bring more time and freedom into your relationship and your business.
Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman are authors of The New Power Couple and are speakers, coaches, and angel investors. They've also shared the stage with Tony Robbins and were nominated as Arizona's 40 Under 40 Influencers.
So greetings, Jocelyn and Aaron. Say hello to our podcast audiences.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us on.
Hello from Arizona.
Yes, here we are. Arizona's a great place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's learn more about both of you and your fascinating success story as the ultimate empowered couple. How did your journey lead you to starting a business together?
Well, it definitely wasn't predictable. I was working as a nurse, actually, practiced as a nurse for 5 years, Aaron as an engineer, and it really was a culmination of different events. We really started to notice that we didn't like the restrictions of PTO and really wanted to travel more. We found ourselves having to choose between a vacation or a mission trip. There were a lot of or decisions we had to make. So that started to have us daydream and think about what would we want to do. And then it really started first off with a health and wellness business, actually in the network marketing industry. And that was our first exposure to entrepreneurship. But what happened, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of entrepreneurs, as we were doing that, we were helping people in health and wellness, people started to notice we were doing other things in our relationship, how we were managing our money, how we communicated, how we resolved conflict. And people really started to come to us asking us these things. So we said, wow, a lot of couples don't know some of these topics that we're taking for granted. And that led us to just kind of being curious, what could we do with this? And we met a publisher and he chose to publish our book. And then that really led to us developing coaching programs and workshops and events and speaking. So it really was, and I'm sure most entrepreneurs find this, just this ripple effect. It really one step led to the next. So now it's been a couple of years where we both have been full-time retired. I retired my nursing career first before Aaron, and then it's been so much fun ever since.
Aaron, what kind of engineering, what's your background on engineering?
I have a mechanical degree, and I worked in the process automation for 8 years. And you know what's interesting for all the home-based businesses there, you may start out as a corporate job, and for all intents and purposes, being an engineer was something that it was like, that's good. You know, you met a goal, you now have a wife, you have a house, but it just wasn't the fulfillment of what I feel like I was here for. And that was really probably one of the biggest starting points for Jocelyn and I, was to say, here, we're coming together. We were starting our marriage journey together, and we said, we don't like this question of or. And also, what could our partnership really be about? What's really fulfilling to us? We have jobs that are paying the bills and we're able to buy the material items we want, but what's truly going to satisfy and fulfill us in our life?
Well, you're like a kindred spirit with me, because I'm an engineer too in civil, and it was kind of the same thing. Met some goals there, got licensed, and then I was thinking, it's like you've checked a box. Maybe it's time to move on to something else. So this is fascinating how it all came together. You were kind of pulled into the market where you would think there'd be a lot of people, experts on this, but I guess there isn't. I mean, and you're there as a couple running a business together, and so you found that there was just a dearth of information, and people you could learn from your experiences, and then it just grew from there.
Yeah, I think, there's the therapy world, right? And that's what most couples have thought around, relationship coaching. And so we saw this gap in what about couples who are more proactive? What about couples who are more into personal development, and also goal-oriented couples who wanted to strengthen their communication, conflict resolution, intimacy, but they also wanted to know how to set and achieve goals together. And that's the gap in the industry that we really noticed, and why couples were coming to us rather than they weren't looking for therapy to fix something. They wanted to create something.
So you're kind of like an intervention before you'd have to get to therapy. If you're listening to you and taking some of your advice, you might have to, you might not have to move into full on therapy. Then that's
right.
That's a great niche. So, whether lovers or partners, you have to set some ground rules when you get started. Jocelyn and Aaron, how did you clarify the rules each would be accountable for in your business you started?
Well, it's a great question, Richard. And I would say it was some trial and error. And one thing that we noticed, and it's huge for all of your listeners, is if you make this transition from like a corporate job, as we both did, into a home-based business, you're going to also have to overcome the employee mindset versus the business owner mindset. And the biggest place that showed up for us was the amount of hours that we would work. So even though we retired our jobs, Jocelyn, when she first retired, found she was working even more hours. Right? Like
not really retirement. It's just a whole nother way of looking at it.
Well, and I would sit down at the desk at 9 a.m. thinking, I need to get started. And what do I do now?
And it's a great point, because we're not here just to trade time for something else, and nor are we here to trade our dollars for hours, if you will. Yes, we stepped into something that's more fulfilling, but it's also we want to have that time freedom. That's one thing home-based businesses that just get started, they're just trading what they're working on. Yes, you may be more passionate, but you do need to come up with, how am I going to give myself the freedom of time, the freedom to play and do the things that I really enjoy? And you have to sort of try some of these things out. So for me, we ask ourselves the question, what activities raise our energy level, what activities lower our energy level, and really ask, can I delete, delegate, or do differently those activities that lower my energy, such that the things that I'm doing raise my energy. I feel good, I feel energized, and to stay in what we call your zone of genius more frequently, you'll find you're more effective, you're more satisfied, and you can work even less hours because of how effective you are in the activities that raise your energy.
That's good. What I found running a home-based business is you have to, or a small business, any kind of business, you have to work more. You have to work more time. I mean, it does take more time than the traditional job, but the benefit is, like you're saying, you can set priorities and work things around, the better priorities in your life. So I guess you have more flexibility, but maybe the trade-off is you have to put a little bit more time in and just set those priorities right.
Yeah, it really it depends on how good people can be at delegating, right? Which is a challenge. We're even, we've up-leveled, we reached a new goal, and now it's okay, we've got to look at delegating even more so that it isn't taking away that freedom. And I did want to add one caveat, as well as the delegation between us as a partnership, because couples who enter business together, it really can turn into, if you don't have who's accountable for which area of business, in a way, who's in charge of marketing or who's in charge of team growth, it can turn into at dinner, did you do this? Did you do this? Kind of doing the business.
So when you're talking delegated, this could be not like delegating to a contractor out there. You're looking at your spouse and saying, hey, I'm delegating this to you.
Right.
Boy,
That's how to delegate. I guess the delegation can get a little sensitive.
That's a great point you bring up. Someone mentioned to us this past month. That's like, you don't want to start to see your spouse as free labor and already available. And I know
ask this question: did either of you ever fire each other? Like, you're fired from marketing.
If we're out of balance, if we haven't set up enough structure or proactively talked about something in the business, it can bring up tension, because even as an entrepreneur, it brings up fear. It brings up challenges. It's a lot of personal growth as an entrepreneur. And so then to be doing that with your spouse, it can bring up new things about your partnership you didn't know, things we might suppress, like, subconsciously maybe judging our partner. So it really is a next level of personal development when you enter business with your partner, because you are going to be challenged with things that you never were taught by someone who's married but didn't start a business together. Like, we actually say it's one thing to be married or in a partnership, but then to start a business with that person, like, that's why we're developing training for that, because where else are you going to learn that?
Hey, he's a great spouse or partner, but I didn't know he didn't know how to do tasks or to take care of this thing, and they just got to kind of work through those things. Well, before heading on to our next topic, I'd like to highlight this show's sponsor, Little Jimmy's Italian Ices and Push Carts. Start up a business selling their delicious and healthy Italian ices. Easy transport. Cart fits into most mini SUVs or vans. No experience required. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. For more information, call 800-763-4348 or visit ItalianIce.net or our sponsored podcast website for more information on sponsors.
Now, we can't have this discussion without at least mentioning the old saying that you should not mix business with pleasure. Jocelyn and Aaron, you no doubt had to work through some issues. What challenges did you encounter in balancing both romance and your business?
The balance, you hear the phrase work-life balance, even for individuals. And really, that can be an illusion that couples are trying to reach. And it can cause stress and strain, like, oh, we're in personal time now. You shouldn't be talking about business. And that's something when we say, couples starting a business, it can't be a business that you're avoiding or don't want to be doing, like, oh, the Monday effect, or I don't want to talk about it, it's the weekend. If you're having that experience, there might be something in the business that's out of alignment, something that's not really your purpose. Like, the business is our purpose in life. And so for us, it's not, don't talk about it, it's dinner time. This is personal time. There isn't the distinction personal and business, it's life. Now, with that, we do have times where we say, you know what, I'm going to take Sunday. I'm turning off my cell phone. It's a personal day. And in that way, we communicate to each other that we don't want to do anything business oriented, so that if I go to Aaron and say, let's work on that, plan, that strategy, we've already communicated and agreed that was going to be a fill our cup day. And so that we aren't now trying to be like, well, we should be working on this. It really is about that proactive communication. Anything you'd add?
Yeah. Integration, right? Trading the balance for integration. So you have your romance and revenue and not work-life balance, but romance and revenue integration. So what that actually looks like is, hey, when you're not at a company or a corporation and you're at home working with your spouse, at 1:00, you can take a break and be intimate. And why that's even important is because that circulates the energy of creation. And I know this may be a new conversation. Certainly people relate to intimacy as creating a human being, but what about if you took into your intimate space the creating what your mission and what your vision is? So pausing in the middle of the day, maybe you're starting to feel tired or overwhelmed. If you actually pause and with your partner get into an intimate space, that re-energizes you, that circulates new energy, new thoughts, new creativity. We actually create the most epic content and the most epic events after a space of connecting to each other. So we actually use, if you will, intimacy to even grow what we're creating in our business. So it's about integration, not just balance.
So it's a whole new spin on brainstorming.
Yeah,
absolutely. It can be really pleasurable too.
Do you try to keep the same hours and same work hours approximately, or is like one of you working late at night and the other early in the morning, or you try to kind of sync that up as best you can?
Well, one thing we agreed upon, going from the employee mindset to one of the biggest things that drove me, because we were building our business the first couple of years while working full time, and I wanted so badly to have my mornings open. Like, really, that was my drive. It wasn't a new car. It was that I wanted to be able to set my hours in the morning, because that's when I meditate, exercise, write, journal. And so we agree, this actually is earlier than we'd normally take meetings. Normally we wouldn't start anything till 11 Arizona time. That's when our calendar is blocked. And so that's free time. And we basically, he can do what he likes, I can do what I like. We do go work out together. So that's really important to us. And then another boundary we have is that there's no technology in the bedroom. And so even if, like, for example, we were inspired last night working on some new content, so we did work up until about 8 p.m. However, we have a very hard stop at 9 p.m. no matter what. That's our connection time, and there's no cell phones in the bedroom. As far as like working different hours, I'd say we really trust each other's alignment. We use that word a lot. For example, there's times I'm like, I need to go on a walk, and Aaron wants to keep working. Or Aaron will just say, you know what, I really just want to go out. I want to go connect with people, go to a cafe. He might do that and I might keep working. So we really have that trust for each other of that if it's not always about the number of hours we worked, but the energy from which we're working. So he trusts that I'm going to get myself in the best energy state. and he's going to have himself in the best energy state, and then really just trusting that the rest will get completed.
No, you hit a key point there, which is trust outside of the business, just in any relationship. But it sounds like doing that, if you do this right, that it actually can increase trust and build more trust running a business the right way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's vulnerable. Like we said, being a business owner, even as an individual, it's a vulnerable process. You're putting your heart, your money, your time into it. And so to even do that with your partner is a level of, in a way, this is like, it feels like our own baby, and it's trusting that they're going to do what's in alignment for them to fulfill on it, but also having some tough conversations at times too, saying, hey, like, I feel like we're maybe not doing as well as we could here, and being able to do that in a way where it's still your spouse and your partner, but also you get to freely express because you're in business together. If you had a business partner who's a friend or a colleague, or even if you had a CEO and CFO, you can have tough conversations. And as a spouse, you have to be prepared that your spouse may say some things that are confronting, because it isn't just personal, it's business as well.
Good point. Well, so a key part of mixing business with pleasure is to start up a business that is a good fit for a couples to operate. There's a wide variety of businesses that could be a good fit. So Jocelyn, Aaron, what types of businesses do you see other couples start together that have been successful?
Well, going back to what we mentioned about coaching already, Entreport, for those that are familiar, is a CRM, right? A back-end management tool. And they actually published a study that said coaching is one of the top 3 most popular businesses that are getting started nowadays. And for couples in business together, it really is one of the most easy entry industries, as well as the highest ROI, because you're using your own experience. You can coach via Skype or Zoom like we are now. You can create content from your home. And so you have a very low boundary of entry into that. Plus, a lot of people say, I can't be a coach. Well, the thing is, changing your mindset to, I don't have to be an expert. Really, for those that you're going to coach, you just have to be really one step ahead of where they are. And for a lot of times, it's people can look in their own experience of life. I mean, Jocelyn and I, we created our own business together. So why not coach on that, right? And that's why we coach couples, because we're passionate about that particular unit, the relationship. So coaching is definitely a big one. And in today's day and age, people are on social media all the time, but home-based businesses, or maybe your Gen X or a little bit older than millennial, don't really have maybe the social know-how or the technology know-how. So you can actually easily build a home-based business around managing someone's social accounts, or creating their podcast and getting it out to the channels, or you can...
Can I add a couple things?
Yeah.
I'd also say we're seeing a trend in couples somehow facilitating workshops or retreats together. Now they have to enjoy leading, facilitating, but that's something we're seeing. What we are noticing is a lot of couples will say, we want to start a cafe or a restaurant, or even like a dog babysitting. I can't think of the term.
Dog walking? The WAG app?
There's that, but there's also like a facility where you watch people's dogs. Yeah, but when we sit with them and we pause and we say, okay, but what lifestyle do you want to be living? They'll sometimes notice that they were going to go create a brick and mortar business, but then they go, oh, that would have us be in town like 90% of the time, when really what drives them is traveling. So it's important that before the couple chooses the business, they get clear on the lifestyle they want to live. What is it truly the win? Because you can live any lifestyle now with Airbnb, the opportunity to travel. We know couples traveling the country in RVs. It's critical that people get clear on how they want to live life first, and then make sure the business fits that. Because you can start online products, you can start network marketing, you can start coaching, as Aaron said. But first saying, how do we want to feel and what do we want life to look like?
It's just wide open, whatever you can work at good as couples where you're working it together.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's be real. We don't want a business to cause a relationship to crash and burn. Jocelyn and Aaron, can all couples be in business together if they have the desire to do so? Or are some couples not meant for blending in business?
It's such a great question, and that's why we always start with creating a vision statement for couples. So the answer to your question is some yes and maybe some no, but it's really getting clear on what is it that you enjoy doing as an individual? What's your zone of genius? Do you like to network? Do you like to speak? Do you like to coach people one-on-one? Do you like to market? Really knowing your zone of genius, what you love to do individually, and then creating a vision statement together as a couple. And that really is the mission statement of your business as well. Your vision statement as a couple sort of becomes your mission statement of your business. And then so to ask yourself the question, well, if we're here just to fulfill that goal, fulfill that vision, what talents and gifts and activities do I bring to fulfill on that? And then so you may actually find that you have a business together, but you do a lot of separate activities and you may not even spend that much time together. On the opposite, you may have a business together and you're together all the time. And then you may find, based on your vision, that we're out to really build a family, to feel security and have a home. And for some couples, they fulfill on that by having separate corporate jobs. So some couples may find that it's not for them to be in business together, but it comes back to what are you out to experience, what are your gifts, and how do you bring that to your overall vision? And it gives you a lot of clarity whether you should be in business together or not.
So I just want to, a key point there is that you create a vision that's based on your life together as a couple, and that kind of becomes a strategic foundation for your business plan. I guess that's a great way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and really first choosing, for example, we were talking to a couple last week and she had started the business first and then he was retiring his job to enter the business with her. And what they found within a month was he was doing the tasks that he didn't want to do. He didn't like sales, and that was starting to cause strain in their relationship and the business. So they had to first say, okay, if he's going to enter the business with her, what would he enjoy doing? Because it's got to be enjoyable. Being an entrepreneur, if you're doing things that you don't enjoy, that's when we can really keep ourselves stuck. So absolutely, it's really critical to know that zone of genius and what you enjoy first. And then you can really say, okay, what the parts we don't enjoy doing, let's outsource and delegate out.
Great.
Well, Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman, this has been a great discussion on being an empowered business couple. Do you have any additional points you would like to share with our audience?
I think really just take some time and get a whiteboard out, get some pieces of paper as a couple and write out what you desire to experience in life, what you'd want to create, what would be fun and exciting. Because a lot of couples will feel maybe at some point they've reached stagnation or they just kind of, life is routine, and it is so invigorating to create goals together. So even if you're not in business together, what goals can you create? How can you support each other's ventures or jobs together? And then the last thing I'd say is if people are enjoying what we're saying, we'd love it. We give away our ebook to everyone, the new Power Couple. That's on our website, meetthefreemans.com. We also have a family meeting worksheet on there where you can go through every area of life as a family and a couple and really just talk about what your goals are in each area of life. So all of those resources are on meetthefreemans.com.
Well, Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman, thank you for being such great guests on the Whole Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on our show. To learn more about Jocelyn and Aaron, visit meetthefreemans.com or our podcast website for more information on guests.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at our website, homebusinessmag.com.
Visit the website for information on advertising. Subscribe free to our newsletter. Please visit our sponsors. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or the Home Business Expo at homebusinessexpo.com.
I'm Richard Captain Henderson saying anchors away.
And I'm Sherilyn Colleen. We'll talk with you soon. Until then,
make it a great home-based biz day.